So I'm going to start on a boring screen maybe, but a really informative screen, which is our researcher help center. I think that the team is planning to share all of this documentation in chat as well, right? So I think the way to do this, and I've been through this process myself as if for the first time in recent weeks, is to just follow this step by step. There are a couple of places where it gets a little technical, which I'll walk you through right now. But once you've done it once, it's really easily repeated and doesn't require much thought. So there's a nice little researcher help center article on how to do this. And we're going to jump into the Qualtrics integration guide for a second. And here we have sort of the specific instructions for Qualtrics. I'm going to take your attention to the scariest thing I'll tell you today, which is that there's a piece of JavaScript here. So this piece of JavaScript does the magic, and you will add this to the header of your Qualtrics study. I'm going to show you in just a second. With your token here replaced, again, I'm going to show you what token you want to add in that spot. And then we also have some code that you will add to each of your questions, which is linked here. And I will show you what that looks like in a moment as well. But once you've sort of seeded your Qualtrics header and your Qualtrics free text questions with the JavaScript, that's all you have to do. And I think people are also expecting to have sort of pressed the button or turned something on. Nope. If it's working, you will see it on the submissions page, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. There's very similar instructions for Gorilla. And if you're using the Prolific AI Task Builder, you don't have to do anything at all. You just run a free text question and you immediately get this by default. And this is free to all our data collectors, all our researchers across industry. So now that I've shown you that, I'm going to jump into Prolific for a second. And I'm going to take you to this API tokens step over here. And this is the part that this is the piece you follow to get your token piece that you're going to replace. So you click create authenticity check token. You can call it anything you like at all. And you click create, and it's going to create something that looks like this. I'm not going to reveal it because it's personal, but it's a very long alphanumeric code. And you just want to grab that onto your clipboard when you're ready and replace it into your piece of JavaScript. So that's your preparation to do this. And we're going to jump over to Qualtrics for a second. And if you give me a second just to get my credentials in there. Cool. So here we are in Qualtrics. And here's a survey that I was setting up earlier. I will also note that you cannot inject JavaScript into Qualtrics studies if you're on the Qualtrics free plan. I don't think that will affect many people, but if that's the case for you, you may want to explore Gorilla or the Prolific AI Task Builder. So here I have a very simple 2-question study. Prolific ID is being piped through. Again, if that's unfamiliar to you, there's some really nice instructions on the Help Center about how to do that. And then I've asked people 2 questions here. Write 1 to 2 facts you know about Trump's U.S. tariff proposals using full sentences, and write 1 to 2 facts you know about the new pope being chosen. Spoiler alert, everyone's watched Conclave. It comes through really clearly in the responses. So those are my 2 questions, and I have a redirect. So super simple Qualtrics survey. And all I have to do to enable authenticity check on this is if I go to look and feel, which kind of governs the survey at the top level inside Qualtrics. This sometimes takes a moment to load. And I go to general. Here you have this piece called header. And you'll remember that script that I showed you earlier. That script is what you will drop in here, with the only variation being that you will have added your API token where it said your token in the Help Center. That's it. You literally just copy paste it in there. Then you have one more step and you're good to go. If we go back to the survey flow, not the survey flow, we go back to the questions here. For every question, as you have it selected, you want to scroll down to where it says JavaScript. And again, the researcher help has these scripts ready for you to copy paste. You want to drop the JavaScript into each of your questions that you want monitored. You can have multiple. Here's the most tricky part, and I promise you we'll fix this in an upcoming product release. The most tricky part is your final question of your set has slightly modified JavaScript, which is, again, shown and listed in the Researcher Help Center article. The only reason for that, you can see it's slightly different. The only reason for that is that this JavaScript tells this code, hey, send all the results back to Prolific, we're done. So that's all that is. Publish your survey, link it to your Prolific study, and you're golden. So I'm going to show you a couple of quick tips of the trade for minimizing LLM use via your study setup. And then I'll show you what the results of authenticity check look like. So if we go back to my Prolific account and I go into my projects and I go into my drafts, and here is the draft study for the Qualtrics survey that I was just showing you. So first thing to say is, so writing tasks are a little bit of Marmite for our participant community and probably for all humans, right? Like, who among us enjoyed writing our essays at university? Some, I did, right? But not everyone. So it's always really good practice to be pretty explicit if you're going to require a writing so that people can self-select out and they don't want to be surprised once they've already devoted time to your survey or your study. So it's always really good to just let people know that writing tasks are coming and how much writing to expect. And that's also helped by this study label for writing, which then appears to a participant right away on their study card. The other thing is deterrence, right? So we find that if you tell people not to use an LLM, you actually cut the incidence of LLM use by 61% in our internal benchmarking. Such a cheap thing to do to get a much better, much more authentic sample of human data. So that's another good practice. Then there's nothing here that's particularly interesting or exciting as far as how I've set this up. I'm going to show you the results of another very similar study that had exactly the same screeners. I've made regional selections here. It's a standard sample. And then the other thing I would encourage always is if there's a writing task in your study, if you don't want people to shortchange you, make sure you are setting the duration fairly and setting the reward fairly, right? Like, this is another way to make sure that the game theory of your data collection is fair on both sides and helps a lot. So that's how to set up a sort of good study as far as measures to reduce inauthentic results. And then if we drop into the results of this data collection, I'll show you the one I created earlier, completed. And I think this one is the one that has. So you know it's working when you see the little indicator and the new column. Didn't have to activate it in any way other than setting up my API token and dropping my script in. And in my case, all 5 of my respondents, or all 5 of my participants have checked out green and authenticity check is happy with them. You can see in the hover text that it says 0 of 2 free text responses flagged. This doesn't look like that if the authenticity check is failing. So to show you what that looks like really quickly. So here's a much bigger study where authenticity check is flagging people in certain cases. So you get a mixed bar if authenticity check is flagging more than 0 of the responses. And it's full red when every one of your free text questions for that submission has been flagged as LLM use. So there you go. On top of that, we have a policy for how to action rejections on the back of this. TLDR, as long as you've been fair and you're not sort of baiting people into doing online research and then banning them for LLM use and various other caveats, you can reject a submission if you see any red against it. Obviously, we will make sure that cases are appealable and mediated well. And if a participant feels like this wasn't fair, that we will take a look at that. But the rejection policy allows you to reject on the back of this. We don't have a ton of sort of bulk handling tools just yet. It's a very early beta, but I'm sure we will add them and I'm sure you will want them. So more to come on that. But I think that is authenticity check in a nutshell. I think my colleague, to sum us up, has this really beautiful little sort of one-page mock-up. So new column will appear when you run authenticity checks. Red, green, or mixed bar shows as the responses come in. 0 of 1 in this case. 1 was flagged in this case. And you can reject them if appropriate. So pretty simple demo overall. Yeah, I think that's all the points I wanted to get across on this, Sabrina. That's authenticity check.